I love starting with good news stories. We took the school out on the streets on a Saturday week, do some treasure hunting, where we get prophetic clues and meet people and pray with them. My team had 2 clues, remember in the clues there was Simon and red boots. And we met Simon with red boots and dressed in a Superman outfit. It was fantastic. The trouble was he was a Christian. No. But he shared this story with us. He said that when he was a young lad, he would have over 30 fits a day. But his mother believed. Took him to church. She felt she had a word from God that when he gets baptized, he will get healed. She didn't tell him that. He went to church and soon her faith became his faith. So he got baptized. And as soon as he was baptized, he was completely healed of all his epilepsy. Whoa! Come on! Woo! Right, today we are in John's Gospel, John 15. You might want to turn to it. And we're going to learn how to be fruitful. You want to be fruitful, don't you? Yes. Not sure? Yes, you do. Come on, you want to be fruitful, and we're going to be looking at that today. But before that, a true story. I want to show you a most shocking and most disturbing photograph that changed the world. Some of you will know the story. If you're my age, you were a young person when this hit our screens. It ended any justification for the Vietnam War, didn't it? Yes. The photographer was taking a picture of this young girl. It was 1972. Her name was Kim. She's screaming out, "It's too hot, it's too hot." They have napalmed her village by mistake. She's ripped her clothes off because she's burning, and she's screaming out this terrible horror that's before this photographer. Seconds later, she collapses. The photographer grabs her, takes her to the hospital. When he gets to the hospital, they have no hope for her, and they put her immediately in the morgue. But God had other plans, and she lives. After 14 months, multiple surgeries, she leaves the hospital. But her pain hasn't ended, because she's still racked with constant pain because of the burning. She's permanently disfigured. She's being used by the Communist Party as propaganda against America. And she's living as a refugee in a brutal communist state. So it's now 1982, 10 years later. She's in a library and she's contemplating suicide. She's working out how she can kill herself. But for a moment she thinks, maybe I'll go to the section on religion in the library, and she does. She finds a New Testament, she pulls out the New Testament, and for some reason she starts reading the Gospel of John. She's overwhelmed with what she's reading, because the Gospel of John was primarily written so that we might find faith in Jesus Christ. And guess what? She finds faith in Jesus Christ. Look at these words. I would surrender 1,000 hearts to this Jesus had I that many hearts to give him, she explained. And there and then she gave her life to Jesus. From suicide to abundant life. Wow. She finds a church, and eventually they manage to get her out of Vietnam and into Canada, where she's lived as a faithful follower of Jesus, where she works in a foundation for those children that are victims of war. I guess she's very busy at the moment. We know why, don't we? But she has found Jesus through the Gospel of John. And our great desire is this, that as we go through this series on John, that each Sunday you'll find fresh faith in the person of Jesus Christ. And if you've never given your life to Jesus, you haven't got enough hearts to give him what he deserves. Join Kim and share your life with Jesus Christ. John 15 reads like this. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. We stop there for the moment. A very familiar passage, I'm sure, to most of you. We want lives, don't we, that are fruitful. I guess you're very familiar with the Black Lives Matters movement, the prominence that came to prominence over the death or the murder of George Ford in 2020. But as Christians, of course, we believe, don't we, that all lives matter, irrespective of race, colour, nationality, sex, age, or class. But we believe more than that. We believe that God has a purpose for every life, destiny, and a legacy. How John puts it is this: we are born to be fruitful. We are born to have a significance and an impact in our world. So how do we do that? How do we live out our fruitfulness? And John has really some simple answers that he wants to bring us in this passage. We're going to look at just 3 of those quickly this morning. And it's all to do with the choices that we make. We will be fruitful if we make the right choices. If we choose to do the right things and have the right attitudes. Let me give you an example. Alfred Nobel. He had a strange experience. He read his own obituary before he died. His brother had just died and a French newspaper mixed him up and did the obituary for Alfred Nobel. And he was not pleased when he read it. They said he was the greatest destructor of mankind that has ever lived. Why? Because one of his inventions was nitroglycerin, dynamite if you like. They said that he made it possible to murder more people in a short time than any other person on the planet. And when he read that, he thought, I've got to do something about my fruitfulness. And some of you will know the story that he took his wealth, about $9 million, and invested it in furthering and promoting peace on this earth. The Nobel Peace Prize is just one of the many prizes that he has funded, because he made a choice to change his fruitfulness. And we all have that choice that we can make. 3 things then, very quickly. I think the choices we have to make are these: always abiding in him, accepting the pruning necessity, embracing the love principle. Got that? Very quickly then. Always abiding in him. This is a statement I want you to remember. Fruitfulness is never a matter of effort, but connection. I'm going to say that again, because I think you're right, Mark. I think that's really good. Fruitfulness is never a matter of effort, but connection. I just wish it was an original thought. It's about connecting. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain or abide, some versions abide in me, and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Fruitfulness is never about effort. It's a call to close abiding, remaining in Him. Abiding is maintaining a seamless connection, a continuous awareness of the presence of God at all times. Do you suffer from distractions? I know you're trying to concentrate on me, but think of your roast in the oven, aren't you? At this moment. Yeah, I see they're guilty there, confessing it. I know. See, distractions prove something really important. You can think of two things at the same time. Even men can do that. Women do it all the time. But men can do it, really, they can. God wants us, in everything that we do, to concentrate on the thing that we're doing while always connected to Him and being aware of His presence and His desire to impact our lives and the world through us. You might think, well, that sounds like a really heavy mental thing. It isn't. It's a matter of the heart. Sorry, Frost, I might embarrass you. We met at university. We never went out with each other at university. I was too blind and stupid. But after we met, it was at Easter, after the time we'd finished at university that previous summer. She took pity on me, and I was having a really difficult time working as a probation officer in a probation hostel that somebody tried to burn down. I was rescued in the midst of a blaze. It was fun working with such people. And she took pity on me, invited me to her house. I instantly fell in love with her. She was going out with my friend at the time, which was really embarrassing. I never told her. I just prayed for her. That's all I did. But I tell you what happened after I fell in love with her was this. I became obsessed with her. All I could think of was Floss. Nothing's changed. You see, it's not a matter of the head. It's a matter of the heart. You will stay connected, abiding and remaining if your heart's right. Because you can't but be obsessed. Let me use somebody else's illustration. Imagine a very rich person comes to you and they say, I've got a little task for you. I've got this ring. This is, by the way, supposed to be Dodie's ring to Lady Di. I don't know if it... anyway, that's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, slight digression. And where was I? Oh, yes. The ring. And this millionaire says to you, will you just look after this ring? It's very, very valuable. And I'm going to come back in 30 days, and if you've still got it, you can give it to me. I'm going to give you £1 million. Just think, what are you now thinking about for 30 days? Where you put it? It's in your pocket. Where is it? Where is it? You become obsessed, don't you? You're obsessed with the ring. It occupies everything. Why? Because of the value of the ring that you've got and what you are going to inherit as a result of looking after it. You see the principle? Abiding and remaining is appreciating who you have, the treasure in the field, the pearl of greatest price. That's who you have. And what is your eternal future? You're going to be with Him. I woke up this week, sometime, having a conversation with God, and God said to me, Bradley, eternity or me? And I thought, oh my giddy aunt, that's really put me in a spot. Am I following Jesus because I get eternity? Or am I following Jesus because I get Him? He said, would you exchange eternity for one glance of me? Just think about that for a moment. Would you exchange eternity for one glance of me? We need to remain in him. Abide in him. Have him as our treasure. So we're obsessed with him. Some years ago I had a dream. It was again about God, and God was crying. And I said, God, why are you crying? And he said to me, it's very simple, Grantley, I'm lonely. And I thought, that doesn't make sense. God, you have got the million of angels around you. Angelic hosts, and you've got Jesus and Holy Spirit. You are never, ever lonely. And then he said, Grantley, I miss you. I miss you. I'm lonely because you're just too busy. You're busy doing the stuff, and you forgot to remain and abide. And as you can tell, that encounter has hugely impacted me. Wow. We let so much in our world distract us. But all that Jesus wants is simply a heart choice that's obsessed with the greatest treasure we can ever have. Let me give you this quote from Simon Ponsonby about our relationship with Christ. Too often we have reduced the work of Christ to some metaphysical, judicial exchange and miss the fact that it is a marriage. Jesus so loves us, he wants to take us as his bride. Wow. Not of convenience, escaping hell, but of consuming, consummating love. That's his heart to us. Eternally remaining with us. Will we choose to eternally remain with him? Secondly, accepting the pruning necessity. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while each branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so it will be even more fruitful. Wow. So you're all familiar with the pruning process, yeah? We get rid of the dead wood, because if we don't, that dead wood will get us and kill us. We prune the bits that have been fruitful, because if you prune them, you get more. Masses more. Have you experienced pruning? My first experience of pruning was very early in my Christian life. I had a huge collection of vinyl records. I was addicted to music. I loved the progressive rock, crazy jazz. I was into all that sort of stuff. And it dominated. It was an idol. It was an idol. And God spoke to me and said, get rid of the lot. So I thought, wow, I could take it to the second-hand shop, make a little money, could buy something good. And as I was about to do that, God said, no, I want you to burn them. You may think it's sacrilege, but I burned them. It was my first pruning experience. I've had many since then. I'm sure you have too. Is God just mean? Is he just horrible? Is he just the sort of God who doesn't want us to actually enjoy life? Let me just read you these verses on the next slide, just the last ones. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. Why did God want me to get rid of those things? Because compared with Jesus, they would just rob me of joy. Is there anything that's robbing you of joy this morning that you need to be pruned of? Time you spend on social network or on your phone? I could go through a long list. Just let Jesus speak to you. He will tell you what needs to be true. And then finally, embracing the love practice. I won't read all these verses, but let me just read verse 12. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Bob Jones was an amazing prophet, died fairly recently, but a man who had a huge influence in the 70s. Well, he actually died in the 70s. This is what he wrote. I died in 1973, my heart stopped. When dead, I was brought before Jesus, and he only asked me one thing. Did you learn to love, Bob? If Jesus was to ask you that question, how you doing? If you want to be fruitful, abiding, pruning, loving. That's what will make you fruitful. Loving the person in front of you will change your world and make you unbelievably fruitful. Sister Helen one day saw an advert to write to prisoners on death row. And she thought, as a Christian, I may be able to have an impact, so she did. Her story is written in a book and now a film, Dead Men Walking. Some of you will know the film and the book. She contacted a guy called Gary, who was a rapist and a murderer. And he responded and said he wanted her as a spiritual guide. He wanted her to come into prison and help him. But when she got there, she found he was bitter, angry, not a pleasant guy at all. Completely would not admit to his crimes, and was just a horrible man. But she kept loving him. She paid a price, because the love that Jesus speaks about in this passage is about a sacrificial, costly love. And Sister Helen paid that price. All the people who were victims of his crime were so hostile to her, but she kept loving him. The day before his execution, her love impacted him so much that he confessed that he had raped and murdered the woman and her partner, and asked to come to Christ. And she led him to Jesus. On the day that he was executed, she said, I'm going to stand there and be there for you. He said, no, I don't want you to witness this. I want you to go away. She said, no. While the others are going to be jeering and applauding your death, I want you to look into my eyes and see the grace of Jesus. And that's what Gary saw. Her loving him had eternal fruitfulness. I want you to do two things. I want you to ask God, is there anything that I need to get rid of my life? Because it's an idol, and I want Jesus to be in there. And the second thing is this. I want you to ask Jesus, is there somebody this Christmas you're calling me to love? And what do I need to do to love them? Let's just be still, close our eyes, ask those questions right now, and respond to what he says. And then Mark will finish with the notices.